talk about EV stocks today, and not just. I always I get comments because I say I'm going to talk about EV stocks, and then I launch into GM or one of those, and people tell me that's not a real EV stock. So to set me
Not
straight,
yet.
to make sure I pitch some actual EV stocks, John Rosevear is joining me. He is Fool.com's automotive expert. Before we dive in, please take a minute and check out Fool.com/Frankel, the link you see on your screen. Get the top 10 stocks to buy right now from the Motley Fool. The best way to support this work we're doing on YouTube, again, Fool.com/Frankel. So, John, the EVs make up about 13 to 15% of new or new vehicle sales right now, depending on what source you're looking at. And I think it's fair to say the biggest obstacles to wider scale EV adoption are range and efficiency, or charging efficiency. If I'm driving across the country with my family, I don't want to have to stop and recharge for 30 minutes to an hour, which I know that it's not that long anymore. And I want to be, I don't want to have to
We should
recharge.
interject here that range and cost are interrelated.
They are.
If you can get
For
more
sure.
range from a given battery, you can use fewer of the batteries to deliver a given range, and that in turn reduces the cost of an EV significantly. So investors should keep in mind that that's a push-pull relationship there.
Some of the more popular EV models have long-range models,
Mm-hmm.
and you could bet you're going to pay more for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's yes, that's a very good point. But there's one company that I want to talk about called QuantumScape, QS, that is trying to solve some of those pain points. Um, I don't want to get too deep into the technical aspect of it, but they're developing new battery technology called solid-state lithium metal battery technology. And basically, the goal is that these are going to be superior to what's on the market today, both in terms of range through higher energy density, meaning that you can not only have a higher range in a vehicle, but do it with a smaller battery pack, and also have faster charging capability. The number 15-minute fast charge capability has been thrown around a little bit by then. It is a
They're also
pre-revenue.
incrementally safer, apparently, in
Yes,
terms of
that's another
in a
good point.
crash or something like that.
The materials aren't as flammable as traditional EV batteries. That's a very good point also. So QuantumScape was a SPAC IPO back in the 2020, 2021 era. And I would almost go so far as to call it the GameStop of the SPAC bubble. It went very parabolic. At one point, it was trading it went public at a $10 valuation like most SPACs do. It was trading for up to $130 or so at one point. It had a $60 billion market cap at one point for a pre-revenue battery company. It was kind of to say it was irrationally valued would be very generous. But it's come back to earth now. It has a $3 billion market cap. It has $1 billion of cash on the balance sheet. To me, that's a much more reasonable valuation for a company with promising technology like this. And it's getting a lot closer to production, and they're figuring out how to run the business a little more efficiently. In the second quarter report, they said that cash I just mentioned should now last them until 2028. Previously, they had said into 2026. They're
That's
planning
because
to
they
start
have more money coming in from Volkswagen now. Yeah, so
right.
Volkswagen
That's the major partnership they have with Volkswagen. Yep. They've already started to ship some prototypes of their batteries. To kind of like I don't want to say they're totally in proof of concept phase. They might be a little bit beyond that, but they're not in the commercial phase yet. They plan to start commercializing their technology somewhat in 2025. It's going to be a slow rollout though. I think best case scenario, we could expect them to really start rolling this out on a larger scale in like the 2028, 2029 range. But as far as the risk reward of this play at the current valuation, I think it makes a lot more. Well, it definitely makes a lot more sense than it used to, but I think it makes a lot of sense to me as a speculative value investor. I would call myself in a case like this.
QuantumScape, for me, I've always described it as a moonshot. I mean, they are trying to do something really, really difficult. People have been tinkering with solid-state battery technology since I think the 1960s or something. QuantumScape themselves started in a long time ago, I think 2010, 2009, something like that, and drifted under the radar for years. They are finally close. They have they've had interest from several automakers for a while, most notably Volkswagen, which has invested in them and owns, I think, something like 15%. Please check that before you invest, because I'm doing that off the top of my head. But they are getting closer. Their model has not involved manufacturing the batteries themselves. They're not building giant battery factories. What they're doing is coming up with methods to manufacture the battery. The significance of the deal they did with VW a couple of months ago is they're now setting up a joint venture that will manufacture the batteries for Volkswagen. And this is, as part of this, Volkswagen has invested a significant amount of money, and that has, pushed their cash runway out a couple of years. I mean, they think they're going to be shipping batteries almost certainly by 2026, possibly in 2025. They've got cash to go to 2028. Right now, it's, does the technology work at scale or not? That's the question with QuantumScape. And all of the signs, I mean, there have been bumps on the road along the way since they've become a public company, but the signs have generally pointed in the direction of yes. And now that VW has stepped up this commitment to them, they really are starting to point in the direction of yes. Is it still speculative? Sure. Of course it is. We don't know if there's a secret effort elsewhere that's going to come in and disrupt what they're doing. Lots of other people have worked to some extent on solid state EV batteries. Toyota is funding a giant effort. There's another startup called Solid Power that's backed by Ford and BMW, and so on and so forth. But QuantumScape has a very good story, and they have a chairman and founder who's very good at telling that story, which is, this is the technology, this is the issue, this is how it will be solved, this is how we expect to get to commercialization at scale. So far they've, with 6 months slip, 3 here, 3 months slip there, they've mostly hit the timeline that Jagdeep Singh, that founder and chairman, laid out to me when I first talked to him in like 2020 or something. I mean, they're very close. He was saying, back then, he was saying sometime between 2024 and 2026, we will achieve the point of commercialization. They're still in that window. We are in 2024, and they're saying, well, we're going to try to ramp up by the end of 2025, and maybe slip into 2026. And I would say, if that's actually happened, to go back and look at what they were saying 5-6 years ago, that's pretty amazing. If it succeeds, it's going to be worth a lot more money than it is now. I think that's sort of an easy thing to say. And I think with every passing quarter, it looks a little more likely like they're going to actually get to their goal.
I mean, I would actually argue that other than cheap access to almost unlimited capital that they had back in 2020, 2021, the business is far stronger today than it was when it was trading at $130 a share.
Oh, sure. They're much closer to the technology. They've gone through a bunch of gates, a bunch of proof points, and so forth. And VW is convinced enough to be talking about manufacturing at scale and to be putting money behind that talk.
Yeah, I would call this a rationally speculative stock now at this point.
Yeah. It's still a moonshot, but they can see the moon now.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment. So I'm proud to partner with The Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from the popular product Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beaten the market by nearly 5 times. So go to fool.com/Frankel to get your 10 stock picks now. The Motley Fool Stock Advisor returns are 767% as of July 5th, 2024, and are measured against the S&P 500 returns of 163% as of July 5th, 2024.